Hello friends, George here, welcome to the channel. I wanted to say a big thank you to the community at Facebook, the Basic community. I posted a picture, which I did a few years ago during the pandemic. Actually, it was the first rendering I tried on my self-written 3D renderer, which I wrote in Basic back then. It's called 3D Engine. One or two might have heard of it. And I posted it, I think, Wednesday, and I didn't expect a great reaction because I have posted in that forum several pictures which got maybe at maximum 100 likes or so, but this post got over 1000 likes, and it's a kind of surprise, and therefore I wanted to thank you all, and I wanted to tell you the story about the picture. Maybe it's interesting. I want to share it. Well, during the pandemic, I wrote this 3D renderer in Basic. It's an idea which I carried since the 80s, and it should render 3D objects in that green color, which I saw back then at the TV show Battlestar Galactica. If you might remember, Battlestar Galactica featured that Tektronix terminals, which were also basic terminals, and that were famous for their storage tube. They had no memory, graphics memory. They stored the pixels. It had no pixels. It had vectors or lines directly on the tube, and that gave that computer graphics of the time this distinctive look. And when I was a kid, I had this the Commodore Plus 4, my first computer, and I tried to replicate that graphics. I didn't know that the time that the Tektronix terminals weren't rendering spaceships, but nonetheless I was always interested in 3D graphics, and that time I went to the library and came back at home with a book for the Amiga which explained 3D graphics, and I tried to port the Amiga Basic to the Commodore Plus 4 Basic, which was inferior, of course, to the Amiga Basic, but I actually managed to do some renderings, some 3D letters of my name. Since then I was totally hooked with 3D guys. But after that episode I never did 3D graphics, but it had it always in mind, and this was the idea for my 3D engine. And when the pandemic hit in 2018, we had to stay home, and because I had much time, I tried to do the engine. I had no idea of 3D graphics and the mathematics behind this at that time. So the first challenge was to find out how to program such a thing, a renderer. It started with a basic demo where you could render a cube. You could translate the 3D coordinates into 2D coordinates, and you could rotate the cube and zoom and translate it. And this was the basis. And after I did that, I thought it would be cool to render some space shuttle. So, and this is the cool thing about this picture. It was my first, after the cube, this was my first 3D model, and I took it from the NASA repository site. The NASA provides a site, I don't know the exact name, something like NASA 3D resources site, and you can download their original 3D models which they use in their project. And so I did it. I did download this space shuttle, and I tried to first translate the model data into sequential files, because I didn't know how to read the OBJ file. And by doing that, I found out that sequential files are nothing else than text files if you store numbers in it. So you can open a sequential file and you can see numbers in it in any text editor on Windows. So this was very cool. So the first step was to plot the points, the 3D points, into 2D space, and I will show you the picture. The result was just a point cloud of the space shuttle, looking from the top down. And I can remember I was so blown away from this result. It was a black and white picture. You could only see the space shuttle as a point cloud. This was like, I don't know, it was one of the best days of my life. And then the thing took off. The good thing was I made a post. I made a forum post on Plus4 World and detailed my progress, and also asked people how to solve a certain problem. For example, I don't know, I think the first thing I asked was, how can I do arrays in Basic, and if I can dynamically change it, something like that. And by that I learned that if you want to store float numbers, then it takes 5 bytes per number, and if you store integer numbers, then you need only 2 bytes. So yeah, you can do the math. If you have a model with, let's say, 1000 vertices, and per vertex you need 3 numbers, X, Y and Z coordinate, and you also need the X and Y coordinate of the view plane, of the 2D screen plane. So that's a lot of numbers, and if you can save 2 bytes per number, that's a great deal. The advantage of the Commodore Plus 4 over the other 8 bits of that time is that it has a lot of free memory in Basic. The Commodore Plus 4 has 64 kilobytes of memory, like the Commodore 64, but the Basic offers you 60 kilobytes free memory. And that's a lot. That's about twice as much as the Commodore Plus 4, and much more than other micros of that time. And that's a great advantage that this 8-bit machine has. So I detailed my progress in that forum post, and with the help of the sceners there, I did manage to make my first version where I could render the space shuttle first as wireframe without hidden face algorithm. You know, where the wireframe is when you can see through the model, and then the hidden face algorithm is the version where you don't see the faces which are hidden, which are behind the model, or at the back of the model, or at the back of the model, depending on the view. And so I also shared my progress on Facebook, on the +4 forum, and on the I think another forum which deals with microcomputers and servers. Was a big forum at the time, and it got attention. It got attention from several people. Many were in academic fields. Not many, a few. Some were software developers, some were engineers with a programming background, some were actually working at Pixar, some were at NASA, some were actually 3D engine developers for games, and I can't remember the names now, but one gave me the tip that, for example, so if one face is very far away and it appears only as a dot, you can calculate the area, and if the area is under a certain threshold, let's say 2 per 2 pixels or something like that, then you don't consider it. So with the cool thing is it took about 1.5 years to get the engine to the point where it is now. But what I really liked is the communication with the community, and everybody was very, very helpful. And I think without the community I wouldn't have done it so far. Because when you show something, you always get feedback and sometimes really great ideas. And only the enthusiasm fuels you to go further, to push the boundaries, as we say, and come with something next that you can show, and the next enthusiasm fuels you, and so on. But of course, the main motivation is that I really love this kind of 3D graphics, because in the 80s, you remember the film Tron? The film Tron was the breakthrough for 3D graphics. At the time, only 5 companies in the US and maybe 1 or 2 in the UK were able to do 3D graphics. And the film Tron was the project that kind of standardized the methods of 3D rendering. And that was the time when the Commodore Plus 4 and all the other 8-bit micros were released. 3D graphics were a big dream back then, not reachable for the normal people. If you wanted to do real-time 3D graphics, you had to pay the amount of a house to get the machines to do this, and you would get some flat shaded 3D graphics usually, except if you were working in the government or military, where they had the kind of simulators to train the pilots. So that's the story behind the picture. It's actually the first model I rendered, the Space Shuttle, but there is more. Then I realized that I had optimized the engine so that I had some memory space left, and the next challenge was to add the boosters, also the boosters, to do the rendering. So the Space Shuttle with the boosters are one 3D model, and it was rendered in one step. And when I did this was really a major breakthrough, because the model had about 2,700 vertices, and there was only a few bytes or so left. So this was kind of the maximum that you can do with the engine. It had some flaws at that state, but I was if you rotated the model at the right angle, you couldn't see the mistakes, or you would see very little mistakes. So the Death Star was another idea which came later, and there I had the problem: how can I render a scene with several objects? So the first try was the idea was to optimize the engine so that I can load every object in memory, but this wasn't possible. I had no memory left. So this picture was done then in two steps. I rendered the Death Star first in the background, and then I saved the memory screen into a file. I restarted the program, loaded the background image, and then on top I rendered the Space Shuttle with the boosters. At the time I did this picture, I also tried to convert the engine onto other platforms, like the Commodore 64, the VIC-20. I did also a VIC-20 version, where I had to use Simon's Basic, for example, to have the graphics command. And there were also some other challenges, because the basic of the VIC-20 is a little inferior of the basic of the Commodore Plus 4. It behaves a little different, so the code was not portable in straight away. But I did it, and I think I also shared some pictures of the VIC-20 version on Facebook. I think the first model I rendered was the Enterprise and a TIE fighter, which were really cool. I will show it here, which were really cool. So that's the story about the picture. The project is far from finished. I will post a tutorial the next days to show the process, how this is made. And if you want, I uploaded the code on Github. I will leave a link, and if you are interested, and if you want a challenge, or if you want to create some nice pictures, you can use the code. I have already inspired a few people. In this topic, I also inspired my son, who is 16, in doing 3D graphics, and what he did is he made an own 3D engine in Scratch, which is pretty amazing. So I would usually do it for myself, mainly when I need to relax after a hard day, and I like playing with this stuff and creating some pictures which I like, and it's always nice to share the results, because as I found out, many people share my fascination for wireframe graphics. So friends, that's my message for today. I really like this direct communication with you. Though I'm a very shy person, I usually don't talk in front of people, but I like the feedback that I always get. And since I'm in a very niche topic, a niche area here of retrocomputing, especially for the Commodore Plus 4 and all these old 16-bit, 8-bit computers, the people with which I deal are really not that much, and usually in my age, and so I feel very, very comfortable connecting to you. So, greetings to my regular viewers, which I could also consider my friends, and thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a nice day or evening, and see you in the next one. Bye bye. So I also shared some pictures. I also shared